Hey people, I am back. My hair, just doing everyone. No. So, as you can see, slightly new setup. I have a desk now and a chair. You guys can't really see it. That YouTube money coming in. It's not coming in. I'm just employed. Yeah, so today I wanted to do a little post why can't I say that? I wanted to do a little post-mortem. Because as you guys know, I'm in school. I'm not in school anymore. I graduated. Can you believe that? So I graduated, and my senior project was actually a game. You guys can't really see that. Called Monster Mashup. I feel like if I'm doing it like a game dev channel, I should do a post of games that I've worked on. So this is a game for my senior project that I worked in a team with, and I just wanted to talk about it, break down like my feelings on it and how it went. First of all, Monster Mashup. Monster Mashup is a 2D fighting game where you build your fighter rather than pick them. They come with different attributes depending on the body parts you pick. So we have like a mummy body part, we have vampire body parts, we have werewolf body parts, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool to brainstorm ideas to set those different body parts apart. I think first off, I should talk about my team. And wait, I haven't gotten their permission to talk about them, so I might just not say their names. Actually, let me ask for permission right now. Got myself some of my graduation cake while I wait for a response. It's huge. I think how I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna use their names, and if they tell me they don't want to be in it, I'll just censor it out. I'm pretty sure they'll be cool with it, but just in case, I don't want to infringe on anyone's privacy or anything like that. And Justin wakes up at like one of my teammates wakes up super late, I think, so he might not even see my message until much later. Let's break down each of my team. I don't want to break them down, but let me introduce each of my teammates and how I felt about them and what they did, basically. I think I just got to come to terms with the fact that my hair is going to disrespect me this whole video, so I'm going to try and stop touching it. Number one, numero uno, we have Valerie. I can't exactly pronounce her last name. I think it's
Hilgenstein.
Valerie is a super talented artist. She has amazing work. Yeah, she basically designed all our characters for us. She set like the baseline for the animations and like our idle animation, crouching and stuff, all the cool stuff. I do think we kind of butt heads because this game was her idea. And I kind of came in, or I got added to her team, and I think I was kind of like headstrong, like with my design ideas. So I think we might have butt heads at the beginning, but I think we became very cool with each other as we went along. Like there were certain things that I just didn't think would make for a good game. Like she made anticipation on our jump animation, and she made a landing animation. And like in my head, it's always like, oh man, we gotta be responsive. We gotta, when the player presses a button, he should get instant feedback, blah, blah, blah. But, so we kind of butt heads on that, I think. And the anticipation, I actually came to like the landing animation. I think it adds nice character. But she's really talented. I can definitely see her working in the games industry, doing some great concept art. Well, I don't know what she wants to do, but great animation. Um, I would work with her again. That would definitely be cool. I'm kind of going through this like in the order that I met my team, because some got added later and some were added from the start. So next up is Justin. Justin's just overall like a great guy. He was our programmer. My team had 2 artists, 3 programmers. So he was one of our programmers. I think he came in with minimal Unity experience, which was the game engine we used. But he learned stuff. He looked up stuff. I try to help where I could, or when he asked me questions about Unity. I'm not an expert at Unity, but I've used it a little bit on my own time. Yeah, so Justin, great guy, great work ethic. I think he carried this project on the programming side. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't want to do, or there's a lot of stuff that I was too busy to do, and he just went and did it. Like, and there was some stuff towards the end that I was like dragging out, and he just went in and like 45 minutes, he just did all of it. So I'm glad he was on my team. He is a just great guy, great guy all around. Next up, we have Junior. He's also an animator on the game. He did stuff like the walking, the attacks, the grab animation that we never used. Sorry about that. He did the particle effects, or I guess, yeah, particle. We'll call them particle effects. Okay. So, the T on Junior. Okay. So at first, when he started giving us his animations, I was actually kind of unhappy with like what I was seeing, because I think he wasn't able to match the same style that Valerie, or at first at least, he wasn't able to match the same style as Valerie. So like when I would put in the animations and like transition between like the idle to the walking, I'd be like, yo, I don't think this looks good. I think I tried to have him do the rough animations and Valerie just do the polish so that we all had like one uniform look, but they like just kind of vetoed me on that, which is a good thing. Because I don't have all the answers. I'm not always right. And then I kind of put this in perspective. This is a senior project. Junior needs as much as he can get for his animation reel, and I'm glad he could do that with this project. And he's actually a really talented artist, regardless of what I say or think. And he gave us some really fire stuff. I'm sorry for doubting you, and I hope you get hired off of the stuff you do for a game or something. I don't know how the art industry works. Okay, so last is our second programmer, or other than me and Justin. I don't know if I should say his name because I might be a little harsher on him. I do have some complaints about our third programmer. He was kind of radio silent for a lot of the project. And compared to like Justin, I do think that he didn't really put in as much work. So I do have to point out that he did join our team the latest, so he wasn't there when we built the initial systems. The initial movement, initial combat that me and Justin built, he wasn't there for that. So he was coming into like a new code base. He didn't know Unity. He only worked in Unreal before, I believe. So like when coming in, he was like bombarded with a bunch of like new stuff. Side note, when he joined the team, first thing he wanted to do was refactor my stuff. And I'm pretty possessive, so I wasn't very happy about that. But my code did need to be refactored. My code was very bad, but I was still a little salty that the first thing he wanted to do after looking at our code was like refactor all of it. Over time, I was like, okay, I'll let him refactor it because it could be better. If we want to add more systems, like it should be clean. But then he never did it, so I guess it doesn't matter. I don't think I onboarded him or as a team. I don't know if I was in charge of the onboarding. But I did have like the most Unity experience, so I think maybe I should have like maybe sat down with him, like talking him through some stuff. But I am not a good manager. I'm pretty trash at all of that stuff, and I'm very unorganized. So I should have like kind of welcomed him into the team and brought him into the loop better. But I didn't do that well. So that's just, let me point that out now. So he got assigned like parallax backgrounds, coding in the parallax backgrounds, and the background selection. What is that called? The background selection system, right? So that was his kind of job for the whole thing. So he was supposed to code up the background system and parallax backgrounds and whatnot. But he just went kind of silent for a while. And our background, we had like sprints, 2-week sprints, and we'd present each Monday after the sprint. And our background selection system was like the same for like 3 sprints in a row. So we didn't really hear much from him. So the day before our presentation, I went in and I made a background selection system and I added parallax backgrounds to our game. I think I should have reached out before I did that, because I know like I think doing that was kind of like shady. Might have been stepping on his toes, but I honestly didn't know like if he had done anything or if like he might have built the whole system, but I wouldn't know because he didn't really communicate with us. And I feel like I'm just ranting about him, which is not what this video is about. But I would have liked more communication from our third programmer to at least, because all of us were in our final year, I believe, and some of us were in our last semester, like me, because I graduated. So I know he had a ton of work from all his other classes, but I would have at least liked some communication to let us know, like, hey, I'm swamped with operating systems, and I won't be able to get to this, instead of me just like not knowing what was going on. So let me move past that. I don't want to make this like an exposed video. I'm thinking about putting this in our class Discord, which I'm not sure if I should do because our grades aren't out yet. And I don't want to impact his grade at all. I'm not trying to like snitch. We made it this far. I don't think he should be penalized. Honestly, stuff happens. So yeah, that's the end of my talk about the team. That's who I work with and what I thought of them. I think they're all very talented. And okay. So anyway, next segment. Okay, in this segment, I'm going to talk about how much money our game made. We made we made $0. Actually, scratch that. We made negative money. Because I paid for Unity teams. We wanted to use Unity Collab because we were having kind of trouble with Git repositories, and it was just too complicated. And with Unity Collabs, you could just like push the button, and then your changes are sent to the rest of your team. So Unity gives us 3 seats for free, which covered me, Valerie, and Justin. Oh, sorry, I keep knocking my tripod. Me, Justin, Valerie were covered. When Junior and Programmer 3 were added to our team, we had to get them in there too. So I paid for 2 extra seats, which cost me I don't know. So we made negative money off of this game, and that's fine. It was a senior project. We weren't looking to make money, but I just thought it was gonna be fun to talk about the money we made, which was zero or negative. Time for the next segment, which was our game dev challenges. Challenges. First challenge was our lack of experience. Like, we took on a very ambitious game. It's a fighting game, for one, which have very tight mechanics, which I don't know if we nailed that. We tried our best. But fighting games, very mechanically charged. On top of that, we had 3 separate body parts for your character, which made it 3 times harder and a 3 times larger project. Because one thing we did for the head, we'd have to do it for the torso, have to do it for the legs. And that just wasted so much time. I wouldn't say wasted, but it took up so much of our time. Took up a lot of time to like try and get everything working for all body parts. So yeah, a challenge was tackling such a big game idea with such little experience. The next challenge that we faced was getting the animations to work. I'm never doing a game with customizable body parts ever again. I'll tell you that. Okay, that might be a lie. I can't tell the future. But yeah, the animation system in Unity could use some work. Okay, it's not, or for what we were doing, maybe there's a better way to do what we did. But I just had so much trouble, and I kind of fell into that role of working with the animations. So I'd like get the animations from our animators, which was another struggle. Not because they weren't giving us animations. It was just, I'll cover that later. But I'd get the animations from our animators, and then I put them into the game, hook them up to our systems, and get them working. So when you press the punch button, all your body parts will play the punch animation. Because a punch isn't just an arm moving forward, right? So the head will twist, right? Or whatever, I don't know. And then the legs will have to like pivot as well. So we wanted to keep all those in sync regardless of what body part you had. And that was the challenge. Okay, so I reworked our animation system. But before that, it looked quite ugly. And it was a nightmare. There's so many points of failure. Like, you can get stuck in a drop animation. You can get stuck, whatever. And we had to make that each transition match, like these arrows between each block. We had to make sure that these had the exact numbers, because if any number was slightly off, like you had a 0.1 instead of a 0, you will notice, because your animations would fall out quite out of sync. So I did rework it up here, which made it much easier. Thank you to the person on Reddit that told me about animation blend trees. I did not know about them before, but I made them work for this project, and it made my life so much easier. And I think our animation system came out so much better because of that. Yeah. And I kind of want to talk about like the stuff my teammates did, but I kind of stayed out of their business. I don't know if that was a good thing. Should we have like intermingled more? Because I think my movement stuff, like getting the movement working, like I just carried that over to the corner. Oh no. I think my movement code just kind of carried that over to the corner. I did my work there. I'd show my team what's happening, and then I'd go back and do it. And then Justin's stuff, he would be getting all the hitbox stuff that he handled, all the fighting stuff. He did a lot. I don't think we needed to do that much for a senior project, but he did what he had to do, and it was messy. I think he went through a lot of pain and agony, but he did it. So I never really stuck my nose unless one of my systems needed something from one of his systems. I would that's the only time I'd really go into his code. Or sometimes I went in and like fixed stuff. Like if the player controller, which is the movement stuff I was working on, got information, and then the combat controller, which is the stuff that Justin was working on, got the same information. I just went and took that out, and then the player controller would get the information, and then the combat controller would get that information from the player controller. So that's all I really did. I didn't really look too deep into his code, so I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But oh well. Yeah, so that was one of our challenges. All right, so another challenge that I think our whole team faced, I was very, very sad that none of the animations we got from our art department lined up. So Valerie made our idol animation first, I believe. So I plopped that into the game. Lined it up. Everything was Gucci. So we got our idol animation, and then she did, I don't know what she did next, maybe the crouch animation. And that one lined up okay, but his legs were like hovering off the ground. So I made sure to edit the pivot points so that when you crouch, like the pivot points change and your feet will be on the ground. But after that, like stuff just kept spiraling out of control. A lot of juniors' animations just had wild pivot points, or their default pivot points would not be lined up. Like it wouldn't be like standing or whatever. It wouldn't be perfectly lined up. So I would have to go in manually and edit the pivot points so that things lined up. That was a huge headache. Like here is how it looks like with the dash animation before I've done any lining up whatsoever. As you can see, it's a jumbled mess. So I'd have to change the pivot points, like go in. If it's still not lined up, I'd change it again, look at it, change it again, look at it. Over time, I built up like, okay, this is a crouching animation. Like if I use 0.5, 0.65, it should work for a crouching animation and stuff like that. That kind of knowledge I built up over time. So it was a big headache. I do think it wasted a lot of our hours. Eventually the whole team started pitching in. And then we were all going in and fixing stuff. So it wasn't just on me and Justin. But yeah, that took a lot of time. I do think maybe we could have worked on different features for our game if we had didn't have to waste all that time and energy, because as soon as I got like 5 pivot points fixed, like I'd be like, my brain would be fried. Like doing a couple pivot points every day, pivot point adjustments rather every day, like was just killing me. And then we had the 3 body parts, and then we had 4 characters. So we had to adjust pivot points for I don't know how many different animations and how many. But that's where Justin saved me, because he sat down and just blew them all out. Like there were still adjustments here and there. I was still doing adjustments on the day of our presentation, but thank God for Justin and him just putting all the animations in there and adjusting pivot points. And in our final game, I think there's still some pivot points that are off, but do I care? No, I don't. I don't care. It's way better than it was. So yeah. Um, yeah, and speaking of like time wasted, I think that's another challenge that we faced as a team. Um, or not. That's not another challenge. I think that's a good segue into the next challenge that I want to talk about that we faced. So this challenge that we faced was content, and cutting of content. When we were designing the game and when we were thinking of different like abilities and different mechanics, like we had such a huge vision. Like we could see how amazing this game could be. Um, and then I became the villain. I was like, at the start of the project, I was like, my team probably hates me because I'm shooting down a lot of these ideas, because we had so many cool ideas and I just had no idea how we were gonna pull them off. And that's the point of game dev. I don't think you should know how you're gonna build your game before you build it. I think it should be like an adventure, right? It should be a learning experience, but there's such thing as too much learning during a development of a game. I think like you shouldn't know nothing before you do such a huge game. Like the animation system, I didn't know how that was gonna work before our project, but I had it like an inkling. I was like, I think I could pull it off. So stuff like that, I think is like, if you have an idea of how you might tackle it, like it's probably not gonna work your first try, but I think having an inkling and being able to fix it and expand upon it from there, is the way to go. There's a lot of stuff that I was just like, I really don't know how this is gonna work, and I played the villain. I think I played the pessimist. That's what I called myself, the team pessimist. I'm sorry, y'all. You guys had such great ideas, it's not that I didn't like ideas, but I didn't see. I didn't see how we were gonna feasibly like add that to the game. Um, on top of that, we were wasting a lot of time on the pivot points, so we didn't have as much time to explore our different options. There was also stuff like abilities. So I personally wanted the head that you choose. Right now, in this build of the game, the head that you choose is purely cosmetic. Like it doesn't really do anything. But I wanted it to hold like your ability. Like if you build up your ability bar, then you would, oh gosh. Once you fill up your bar or whatever, then whatever head you had on would change your ability, right? I had ideas for like the bat to turn into, or the vampire to turn into like a swarm of bats and just like attack you if you get in range or whatever. I wanted the mummy to just like, I don't know, like root, like just throw out like a bundle of bandages and you're just like mummified or whatever, and then like you can't move. We wanted the werewolf to freaking transform. Wanted the werewolf to transform, but I didn't. Like I kept trying to think of ways to make it work, but I wasn't getting anywhere, and I had more pressing issues. Yeah, so that was a challenge. Having to cut all our cool ideas and just have the bare bones stuff. I think that was kind of sad. I feel like I've talked about the challenges we faced during development a little for a long time. And I don't know if that's what a postmortem is supposed to be. Maybe I should talk about things I like. Let's talk about personal shortcomings, because I've talked about like my team, and I don't want people to think that I'm not taking any responsibility or blame for how the project turned out. As you will see, we didn't have the best ending to our project. So let me talk about some personal shortcomings. Number one, I am very stubborn, as you can probably tell, and I rather have the full responsibility be on me than having to rely on a bunch of different people. So, like, if I fail something, I know it's completely my fault. So that's the problem that I have when working in a team. I need to definitely get over that. I didn't like people touching my code, which is dumb. And like when I'm at work, like the senior devs like can destroy my code and I won't feel anything. But when I was working in the senior project and someone wanted to make a change to my code, I'd be like, "Are you insulting me right now? Are you telling me my code isn't good enough?" Which is not. It wasn't. But yeah, I definitely felt very possessive of my code, which doesn't make any sense when you're working on a game in a team. Procrastination. That was a huge... Like, I would open Unity, I'd look at the pivot points I had to change, and then one of my friends would be like, "Hey, let's play League, let's play Valorant." And I'll be like, "Screw this game, this Unity project. I'm playing some video games right now." So yeah, I think, especially since like the climate of the world right now, motivation was hard to come by and procrastination was everywhere for me. There's also stuff I had an operating systems project that I basically pieced out on the game, like on our project for like a week and a half. And if I would have just done that operating systems project earlier, I wouldn't. Like, I could have got more dev time into Monster Mashup than I did. I don't know. I feel like there's so much to talk about. And I didn't write anything down. I've just been rambling. But I think the final part of this is I need to talk about our final presentation. There's gonna be like a little card here. It's gonna say "Disaster Strikes" or something like that. And then I'm gonna pop in like so. Our final presentation, which is live on YouTube. I can link it. It's not live on YouTube. It was live on YouTube. Now it's a video. You can watch it if you want to see it. All right. So we're the Monster Mashup dev team. And we're just gonna go through a quick introduction real quick, so you guys get to know who we are and what we did. But it ended in disaster. Okay, so that's concerning. And there's so many things we could have done better to avoid that. And there's ways that I've thought of how I could have remediated it. But basically, the morning of our presentation, I was like playing through the game from like start to finish. But I encountered some, like, when I would select my characters and then I would hit spacebar to start, like, it would just freeze. My Unity would crash. Like, I'd have to either wait a minute or more, up to like 5 minutes, for it to unfreeze and start the game, or I would have to just restart Unity. So I told Justin that I encountered a bug that crashes my Unity, and I asked him if he could make a web build, because we wanted to put our build on the web for anyone to play. So I asked if he can make a web build so we can see if the bug is just for my Unity, because my Unity was being trashed like the whole development process. I don't know if I have some wrong settings. My computer's pretty good, and I was just having like it'd be laggy when I first play the game, and after a couple minutes, then it'll run fine. I don't understand what the problem was. But yeah, I asked Justin to host it on the web so that I can see if it's just like my Unity causing the problem or if we're gonna have to actually look for a fix. So he made a web build, and the web build got stuck at the same place. However, it never popped out of that. So in my editor, it would normally pop out of it eventually, but I left the web build like baking, I don't know, loading for a while, and there's no end in sight. So we had to figure out how to fix that. We only had a couple hours before our presentation was gonna start, so it was pretty stressed at that point. And there was signs of that bug like 2 weeks before then, but it was like a slight pause at that point. But I think the more we added to our game, like the more pronounced it got until the day of the presentation, like it actually froze my Unity. This video is gonna be long. It's gonna be a pain to edit. Yeah, so I spent the rest of the day up to the presentation trying to figure out how I put in like a loading screen. I was like trying to figure out like, is it just a lot of assets? Because we're loading a lot of information up front. Like everything the players pick on the other screen, like we would take that information and then we'd update a bunch of stuff before the game plays, and then we'd start the fight. So I was like, is all the stuff we're setting up front like causing a problem? But I don't think it was the problem. I think with the computers we have in 2020 and the processing power we have, it wasn't a problem. So I went in to the scene where you pick your monster. I looked at the code. I tried to see what was stopping it and everything. I refactored some of Justin's code. That's kind of hypocritical because I don't like people touching my code. But I refactored a bunch of stuff, and it started working. So I was like, oh, I just saved our project. I was like, recognize me. I just saved our project from the pits of despair. Yeah, everything was working fine. However, or on my computer at least. However, there were a couple of more pushes after my push with the fix. So I don't know if something there reverted it or my fix wasn't really a fix. I just got lucky. So I'll never know, and I don't think I should dwell on it. But during our presentation, disaster struck. And I was devastated. Like all the work that we put in over a whole semester during a pandemic, like just didn't matter. Like all our viewers were seeing was that there was a bug. I tried to fix that by like going into the editor and trying to play it from there. Didn't really work out too well. I definitely think some people in that chat were throwing shade at us, but like my team did their best. We definitely should have been more time conscious and not be pushing so much on the day of the presentation, but the pushes didn't cause the bug, but it might have kept the bug there, which we're not sure about. There were some people that in the chat that were supportive and they understood, like, but I think all the hard work that we did, and the blood, sweat, and tears, the fun, the laughter that we put into it, the small things that we put into it, like the freaking buttons, I don't know. But you live and you learn. Yeah. And that's the story of the Monster Mashup development. There's still a lot I could probably talk about, but I'm not trying to make a 40-minute long video. And yeah, so there is gonna be some channel updates coming eventually soon. Cause I know I haven't really posted much about my personal project But there's gonna be updates coming for that soon. If I get permission, I'll link, like, I don't know, social medias of my teammates. There is a PC build. Justin went in and did some wushu. Justin went in and did some magic. And there is now a PC build of Monster Mashup that runs with no loading screen or loading bug. If you guys want to play that, I'll link that in the description. I'll link our presentation in the description as well if you want to see us fail. Or we didn't fail. But if you want to see what happened, thanks for watching me ramble and rant. I hope you have a great day. And later.